Mega Pops. Right? I was look at these shoulders. Who is wearing jackets like this?
Hey.
Instagram got me. That's why I have puffy shoulder jacket.
Is that a trend?
But come on, the blue is cute, huh?
Is that an Instagram trend?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
I got caught up in the moment.
Okay.
I too get caught up in Instagram moments. Okay.
It's fabulous though.
So what up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Nina Payne. Thank you for joining us. This show is about all things events. We talk about what happens before the event, during the event, after the event. We talk to some dynamic people who manage all the details behind the scenes. And we also talk about how to manage and navigate the business of doing events. So today, we're doing something a little bit different. This is called an after show. And so we have done some amazing interviews with event professionals. And so if you haven't listened to or saw or seen the interviews that we've completed with some amazing event professionals, marketing professionals, business behind the scenes, you're going to want to tune into those. So today, I have my team members from Foundation Management here, and we are going to talk about one of our special guests that I got a chance to interview. And so first, though, I want to introduce you to our team. Today, we have Daylonna and Najah.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Yay, ladies. And so just so that everyone knows what you do, Daylonna, if you can introduce yourself and how long you've been with the company, what you do.
Yes, I am Daylonna, and I have been with Foundation Management for at least a decade at this point. And I am thrilled to be at the part. Thank you for having me for so long. I am doing engagement specialist work, which kind of entails doing some sales and marketing sort of title, and also event lead, helping out at each event when I can, and guiding others who are supporting.
So what you're not saying is Daylonna kind of is our director of first impressions. And so if you come to any of our larger events, Daylonna is the person that you see first. She is the big smile, give them the big smile.
I was like, I'm going to write that down, guys. I am the personality. Okay. Here I am. You thought those puffy shoulders were bum, 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 bum.
She's the one that makes everybody feel like they look amazing, and she's giving all of the things. And it's just, everybody needs a director of first impressions, and Daylonna is it. So thank you for being on the show today, Daylonna. So now, Najah. And so Najah, introduce yourself, how long you've been with the company, and what you do.
Well, I'm Najah. I've been with Foundation Management for almost a year, and I am an event coordinator for the team. One of the event coordinators.
So what Najah's not saying, I have some
interesting candidates up here right now.
Shy folks today. And so Najah has like a vast event management experience. And so she came onto the team to help us in a senior level position. We don't have a senior level position, but that is what she does. She brings like tons of event experience, vendor management. She is a retail specialist. She knows her contact list is immense. She is just a valuable member to the team, and I really appreciate you being here on the show as well.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So look, I got an opportunity to sit down with one of my mentors, and she just dropped gem after gem after gem, diamond after diamond after diamond. And I can't wait if you haven't got a chance to listen to that podcast with Njia Kai, I think you should. So if you are in the business, it's a must listen to. And so we want to talk a little bit about kind of what the gems that she dropped were, and then your take on them. And so Daylonna, I'm going to ask you first. What stuck out to you in the interview?
She, and I quote, said, "I've been there and back before you showed up." I said, boom, there it is.
That is an Njia quote for sure.
That was it for me. And then, one of your responses to one of her quotes was, "It is the responsibility of the communicator to do the communication."
Yes.
And I thought those were the best parts of the whole entire thing because people just don't understand that the value of your attitude and how effective and the follow through that needs to be there to be somebody who's planning these events and leading these events. I mean, it's imperative.
Yeah.
You've got to do it. And then being honest about it. I think that's where the been there and back came from because, you can't play a player. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that Miss Njia definitely made factual for me. You know what I'm saying? You have to do the work, and she's done it. She's learned it through experience. It wasn't something that she just read and gained knowledge on. It was like trial and error for her.
Yeah.
And so to be able to be in her presence, I just could imagine that room was electrified that day.
Yeah, I was just super excited. It's one of the people that I followed for a really long time. When I was in artist management, she worked at the museum, the African World Museum, and her team, hired my artists to perform. And so we started our relationship before I got into corporate events. And so when I got into corporate events, I said that Troy Springer was my first call. Guess what? My second call, who that was. And so she just has been a mentor, not just in the workspace of being in the events, but just somebody who knows how to like finesse the situation. She has so much poise and elegance, and she knows exactly who she is. And so you'll hear me talk about unapologetically being yourself. That's in Njia Kai. She walks into a room and she may have on really comfortable clothes and she has her head wrap on and she, is proud of being a Black woman, and in these spaces that are generally not welcoming to her, she finds her way through. And I think the perception when you don't know who she is and she walks in the room could be, different than when you meet her. And so the moment she opens her mouth, she's super confident in who she is, and she's a veteran. She's been doing this stuff for forever. And so if it, and I say in her intro, like if you've been to any of the city parks, if you've been to the African World Festival, if you've been to Beacon Park, if you've been to private events at Park the Restaurant, if you've been to Campus Martials at all, Spirit of Detroit, like she's done so many different things. You've touched one of her events, and one of her specialties is programming. So it's one thing to do the event production and all the details. It's a whole nother thing to program it for the public. And she's a master at it. And so like I can go on and on and on. So please check out the interview. So Najah, what was some of the things that stuck out for you?
Well, main thing I guess that stuck out for me. Well, I guess I can backtrack. I got my start with Njia. So shout out to Njia. Just everything Nina was saying about Njia. I've had that same experience. You just learn so much from her. So one of the things she did discuss in her interview that stuck out to me was just data management in a sense, or project management, just managing your project. Like, how does that look? How is that done? There are so many different programs out here now. When I started with Njia, all these programs weren't available. So she was just touching on, like, she still hasn't jumped right into all these new programming because she found, what works for her. So, as an event programmer or as an event coordinator, it's, important to know what works for you. What type of programs will help you gather all the information you need, or share the information, communicate that information. How can you get that done when you're working with so many different teams and different people? So, that's a big part of event planning for her to say that, that's the biggest thing. Just know what works for you, what will work for your team, how are you getting this information out there? So
yeah, I think that's good information for like new folks that are developing event businesses and event planning companies. It's like, if you Google event planning software or management, you have a plethora of different options. And I think that, you're absolutely right, Najah. She just, impressed on us that, find something that works for you, make sure you're communicating to all the stakeholders. And as long as you're doing that and you keep track of all the details, whatever that product is, then use that product.
all right.
And and you can spend a whole lot of money on, bringing on a new software package in order for you to just manage an event. And so just think about, what you're trying to accomplish. It doesn't take all of that. I think that's kind of the message. It doesn't take all of that.
Yeah, because I know she was saying like several, she'll get calls every single day. People trying to sell her or product, to do something she's been doing for years, like she does this. Like, she doesn't need these $1,000 products, to accomplish what, she accomplished. Some people might need that, some people may enjoy that or see that, help their business. But like, it's all about knowing yourself, and Gia knows who she is. She knows her business. She knows what she's doing. You can't tell her otherwise. So, she constantly learning, but at the same time, she's not like overwhelming herself with just too much, so.
Just a dynamo, if you will, in the event production space.
Mhm.
And so, Daylonna, was there something else that she said that resonated with you?
To piggyback off of what Najah said, I really like the idea that she was going for the know your role position and understanding her role, like you said, as a person who has come in the game and is from generations. You know what I'm saying? She's an originator almost. She came before the whole you can Google and there is 30,000 things that pop up. You know what I mean? She literally stated herself, I Googled project management. There wasn't a lot of that. It was lots of learning that had to be done. And it was knowledge that was acquired versus just going to pick up a book or something and then it was already there. Or I just developed, I got this software and it was already there. But I love that she was able to give people who are younger than her some gems and some seeds, especially towards the end of you guys' podcast special, where she said, okay, get that LLC, get that legal documentation, get that EIN number, like do these steps. And it was really a basic overview, but it was enough to be able to impart wisdom on somebody who doesn't have a clue of what is going on behind the scenes. And just having personal integrity and again, knowing your role, because everybody's doing something different. Like you said, she comes in this casual attire and she's not always the program developer. Sometimes she's working the event, you know what I'm saying? Because she is one of those people who believe in knowing the role of the entire circumstances and seeing how she was put in places where, okay, should I let other people around me mess up or and not even necessarily mess up, but make those errors? Or do I step in? Do I prompt them? Do I go over their head? Do I talk to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Because the success of the endeavor that we are working on is so much greater than myself or this other person. And there's no hard feelings. It's just being integral and having that space to not be calcified in the heart, but opening yourself to learning more and having that, because it's not based off of, like I said, the software. It's not based off of what a computer is telling me or AI like this new generation is doing. You know what I mean? She literally had to do the work. And I loved that.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, she talks about in the interview, I talk about how to deal with difficult clients. And she talks about being in a situation where she had to make a decision. Am I going to blow this up for my ego?
Yes.
Or am I going to help it? Because the integrity of the event and the event going off was so more important than her ego, and how she was treated. And, she was looked over and she was, all these things happen. And she made the decision for the good of the event and the good of the attendees who have to come to that event. She took the back seat. And let me tell you something about integrity and humility, and to think like that. Like, I don't know if I'm even at that point where if somebody did me wrong the way that she was done wrong in the situation that she described in the interview, if I would have handled it like she handled it. And I even called her because I know it's exactly the situation that she was involved in. And she just handled it with such grace. She handled it with such grace, without burning not one bridge. And then the same people who did her wrong had to come back to her and hire her the next time.
Which is so beautiful, to grow from the error that of someone else's judgment, you know what I'm saying, versus sinking in it and letting it bring you down to a new level. She really mentions don't own the stress of the circumstance, you know what I mean? Really just take yourself into a position where, again, what are we doing this for, and why are we here? Is it for our own benefit, or is it for the benefit of the client, the guests, the people? Those people don't deserve to have an event be sabotaged based on my own personal feelings. And so the way that she is always reflective and evaluating circumstances, like continuously, and her belief system, it just is her attitude. It's a great attitude to have. And it's one that I think that time helps develop.
I mean, and You're absolutely right, Daylonna. There was so much to learn from her. Even, I'm interviewing her. I've been knowing Njia for a really long time, but it seems like every time she opens her mouth, I feel like I needed my notepad and my pen, and because there's
Yes.
something else that I learned from her, or I'm reminded.
Yes.
And I've been in the business, for quite some time, but like, there's nothing like sitting under the tutelage of someone that came before you. You know what I mean? And really being able to be mentored by somebody who is about the business and, puts herself in a position to win, but also make sure that, the event wins, the people that are attending win. It's just magical. So make sure you see the interview. One of the other things that I think is amazing about Njia and the system, I would say system that she's built, her company, is that she also does she has a special events training camp for
For
youth.
kids.
And so one of the things that I like that we do here is that we bring on people who don't have any experience in the event space, and we expose them to this life, this event life. Some of these event or corporate events that we've been into has just been big and crazy and a lot of things happening, and they wouldn't have that exposure if it wasn't for joining foundation management. And so me and Njia work together because I hire a lot of her people that she trained, the young kids that she trains in the summer. And so, how important is it, Najah, to kind of just give back to the next generation and make sure that they are prepped for the future?
That's very important. The future is our children, or are the children's.
That's a song.
Right. Right. So it's like, we have to prepare them for, what's coming ahead. We have to share our knowledge that we have now. So when they are older, when they are prepared to, be out there in the world, that, they're prepared. So just having Njia, does what she do every summer with the children. That's a huge thing. Like you said, you hired them.
Mhm.
My boys personally have benefited from her program. They put her on their resumes all the time. They're in their 20s now, so it goes back. That's a very important thing, because kids don't know. Just to have someone like Njia, with so much knowledge. Just with her character, her style. She is very gentle with these kids. But at the
Yeah.
same time, she's stern. Kids know not to play with Mama Njia. Like, like, if she tell you do something, like, you better do it. So, but that's a big thing in our community. In our community, especially, to have that for our young children, it's important.
It's super necessary. Let me talk about a little bit of this before we close. And that people who know her and are in the community call her Mama Njia.
Mama Njia.
And I didn't know what that meant, Mama,
Mhm.
Baba, whatever those terms were, until I was introduced to the community. And so, Najah, can you give what that means and why people call her Mama, and what the background of that is?
Well, I am a community transplant, so I was actually introduced to the community, first of all, through shout out to Indica. Indica is Njia's daughter. That was one of my very, very dear friends. She passed away last year, but she is the one that introduced me to her mom, Mama Njia. And we call her Mama Njia, or everybody in that community. It's a sign of respect, for one.
So talk about what the community is.
Oh, the community, that's what we call it. So the community is like the African-centered community here in the city. So, it's very Afrocentric, Yoruba-based, Nigerian-based. So they practice a lot of the our ancestors' way of living. So, through our food, through our, I won't say religious practices, but just spirituality, things like that. It's literally a community. Everybody comes together, raise their children together, do a lot of different things together. Like I say, when I say I'm a transplant, I wasn't raised in it. I didn't learn about the community. That's a whole nother story I can't even get into right now. I was actually in it, but yeah, that's a whole nother story. So just to be in it now, into adulthood, like I've been in it for about 20 years now, just to be involved in the community. It's a lot of support. You have, like I said, with your families, with business. It's a network. You can almost think of it like, I won't call it a sorority or fraternity, but it is, if you know somebody in a community, that's a network of so many other things, so many other people, have contacts with your African communities, people that come here, to America. We're connected to them through that, and just a huge network. So yeah.
So where does mama come from out of
Oh,
that?
so mama is just like it's really just a respect thing. She is a mama. She's a mother herself. She mothers the community. Myself. I have children now calling me mama. Because we take people. It just doesn't have to be children. Just take people under our wing and just nurture them as a mother would. And that's what Njia is. People, I call her mama Njia, even in a professional setting. I cannot not call her mama Njia. I'm always calling her mama Njia because, like I said, it's a respect thing. She is that person. You have to show her that respect, and you call her mama. You acknowledge her as being that person that nurtures you, that carries you, that guides you through life, and that's who she is. So that's what when someone calls you a mama, that's a good thing. You want to be a mama because you're a supporter. You're a mama.
I think it's just important because I know people hear her being called that in all these different spaces, corporate spaces. When we're on the ground at events, they're like, Mama Njia, Mama Njia, Mama Njia. And I just wanted somebody to explain what the background of that is, because depending on where I'm at and what space it is, I may call her Mama Njia and I may call her Njia Kai. Just kind of depends on where I am. But
it slips up with me all the time. I'm like, oh, Mama Njia, Njia.
Right.
We're having at a corporate dinner. Let me call you.
Right. But just wanted to give her full honor and full respect. I really appreciate her taking time to sit down with me. We had an amazing chat. So if you haven't got a chance to hear her interview, please go back and review it. Thank you, Najah. Thank you, Daylonna, for being here and giving your insight on the interview. Thank my audience for being here and joining us for another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes with your girl, Nina Payne, where we talk about events and entrepreneurship. And so if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of each and every episode. You can also follow us on All Things BTS Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. We welcome all comments and suggestions, so let us know what you think. Let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, remember that the only thing that you can guarantee about an event or life is that it will change. So continue to change with it. Be blessed. Peace out.